Good morning. I thought we would share a few things early this morning. There we go. Hawaiian Punch. You remember that? Heck yeah. It's exactly how we drank it as kids growing up. Let me see here. Just wanted to share some things that, uh, you know, what's new? What's new? 1993, McDonald's introduced McNuggets to its national menu. How about that? McDonald's original four McNugget dipping sauces were big guess: sweet and sour, barbecue, hot mustard, and honey. I believe they still have that today. Uh, Ghost opened in theaters 35 years ago in 1990. I went and saw that. Great movie. Owned it on probably VHS and DVD. I don't know. But with Demi Moore, very, very good movie, at the time. Free Willy, original motion picture soundtrack, was released 32 years ago, 1993. Um, Not really a big Free Willy fan. I've probably seen it once. The Muppets Take Manhattan premiered in theaters 41 years ago, 1984, the years I graduated high school. Milli Vanilli, yeah, they lip sync. Released Blame It on the Rain, yeah, yeah, 35 years ago, 1989. They kind of wrecked their own careers, didn't they? They're not the only ones that lip sync, though. July 13th, 1960, 43-year-old Massachusetts Senator John F. Kennedy was nominated for President of the United States at the Democratic National Convention in Los Angeles, California. And then, of course, we go on to win. Is it a win if you take away some of those, there was only like 3,000 vote difference. Nixon really should have looked into that, didn't want to sully the presidency and all that. Let's get past that. I mentioned this movie the other day. The Last Starfighter premiered in theaters 41 years ago, 1984. Again, my graduating year. Great movie. Still holds up today. I watch it from time to time. Didn't think about it that much. Maybe watched it on, discounted rewatch at the theater. We had like a $2 theater that would show things for like half price. I guess tickets were like $4 then. I'm not sure. Seems like $2 was, you know, you see some things that played pretty well, were pretty popular, and they, try and juice the most money out of it. I don't blame them. Last Starfighter, though, love the old retro type of graphics. It's a tight story, you know, kind of a coming of age, uh, it's just it's a good story. It's a good story, a good movie. I've got that on I've only had that movie like maybe a couple years. I think I got it with like a compilation of like I know Flash Gordon's on that disc as well. A couple other sci-fi classics. I can't remember what. Maybe Dune. Maybe Dune's on there too. That would be a long one. Um, but it was too good to pass up. Last Starfighter, great movie. I did go to see that at the theater. I don't know if I saw it at discount theater or what. Enemy Mine was around that time. That's another great movie with Louis Gossett Jr. playing the alien. That's a great movie as well. Uh, on July 23rd, 1923, Hollywood California's Hollywood land sign was formally dedicated in Los Angeles. It was, a lot of people don't know. It just didn't say Hollywood. It said Hollywood land. And then how the land, disappeared off of there, I don't know. And they just call it Hollywood now. Okay, all right, here it is. The sign, eventually shortened to Hollywood, was originally created as an advertisement for a local segregated housing development. Wow, didn't know that. That's interesting. On July 13th, 1985, and I did go see this movie as well. All the James Bond movies, you know, uh, love those. A View to a Kill by Duran Duran reached number one on the Billboard Hot 100. Uh, you know, there have been a few Bond movies where the songs have not been real bangers, not been hits, but for the most part, uh, most of them became hits and are classics, and I love to hear them. The Deadpool, starring Clint Eastwood, premiered 37 years ago, 1988. Didn't watch every Clint Eastwood movie that came out, but few, few. Uh, Most of them are, you know, become go on to become classics, but not everything. Like, oh, he's had some. I don't want to say duds, but there's been a few in there. Quick Change premiered in 30 theaters 35 years ago. I don't think I saw that. Usually do watch, you know. Uh, hey, Tree Goblin, you're number one and you're already wearing the crown. I love it. Uh, Bill Murray, Gina Davis. Oh, man, Gina Davis back in the day. Yeah, Randy Quaid loved his outspokenness. And Jason Robarbs, he's good too. Hello, Bone. How are you? Good to see you. I was up, so, I thought I would do an impromptu stream. Nothing wrong with that. I was kind of on X, looking at some things, just checking into some things. In 1998, R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company introduced its Joe Camel mascot. I remember that in the United States. R- RJR or R.J. Reynolds officially ended the Joe Camel campaign in July of 1997. It's amazing it took so long after the tobacco industry and 40 state attorney generals settled on a ban on the use of cartoon figures in cigarette ads. What do you think about that? Do you think that, I mean, I have no problem with Joe the Camel or any of these cartoon images for cigarettes. Maybe it does make it look glamorous to children, but I doubt children can get their hands on cigarettes and start smoking just for that, reason. Just dropping in like on my way out the door. Yeah, I thought you might be working, Bone. That's fine. That's fine. You know, just I've been up, so why not do a stream, do a little catch up. Queen released their debut studio album 52 years ago. Hard to believe, 1973. They weren't on my radar. I think it would be 1976 before Queen would ever hit my radar with one of their albums. Or 73, I was still quite young, so not quite into music, although I think perhaps, my first album was Foreigner's debut album, and I still hear songs from it, which there were several on the radio. I still hear stuff uh, all the time on the radio from that album. I love that album. That's the only album I played it so many times I can quote it. The Spy Who Loved Me opened in theaters 48 years ago, 1977. That had a pretty good theme song to it. Like I say, most of the songs from James Bond are really good songs. Uh, I can hear the song in my head, and I can't remember her name. The Lion King original motion picture soundtrack was released worldwide 31 years ago, 1994. Legally Blonde, starring Reese Witherspoon, opened in theaters 24 years ago in 2001. Although not familiar with that, really. Wow, mystery. Milton Bradley's. Let me show this. Milton Bradley's done everything. Mystery Date Game. Wow, from 1972. Yeah, I missed that one. Maybe that's why I never got a date back then. Like I said, I was pretty young. 1988, Wendy's introduced its Super Bar, which included 3 buffet stations: Mexican, Fiesta, Pasta, and Garden Spot. How about that? In 2000, Pepsi Twist was released. Pepsi with a little bit of lime in it. Lemon. I got lime on the brain. In fact, I'm having my first cup of coffee now. Well, not my first. Boys in the Hood premiered 34 years ago, 1991. Didn't really watch that. Northern Exposure debuted 35 years ago, 1990 on CBS. Never really watched that, but I haven't had the inward streaming TV in a while. Monk, now I've seen a little bit of that, not much. Monk premiered 23 years ago on the USA Network. Explorers premiered 40 years ago, 1985. Explorers, that's one that kind of slipped, uh, the movie that slipped under the radar, for me at the time. I've since seen it on TV, I think. Everyone needs a helping hand when they are lost in space. That's probably one I need to just go back and, you know, look. The Crocodile Hunter Collision Course, starring Steve Irwin, who would later die from a stingray to the heart. Stingray would puncture his heart 23 years ago, 2002 film. But unfortunately, and there's your lizard representation for this Crocodile Hunter, Lorenzo, if you see that. Never watched that. Crikey. On July 12th, 1916, 2 swimmers were killed by a shark in Matawan Creek, New Jersey, the last of a series of shark attacks that spanned 12 days. These attacks would partly inspire the 1974 novel Jaws. How about that? Halloween Resurrection premiered 23 years ago, 2002. One of the many Halloween movies. Oz, I never watched that. Oz, was it any good? Premiered 28 years ago on HBO. Silverado. Now, that movie when it came out was like, oh, the westerns are coming back. In a way, westerns never really went away. There's always been, it's morphed over time. I mean, I've been watching Gunsmoke and it ran from 55 to 75, the mid 70s. So there's at least one western that was constantly on TV for 20 years. At one time, there was like 30 something westerns on TV. Everything was a western. The top, 20 were westerns. We always had those maxi series on TV, and some of those were westerns. The Sackets was in the early 80s or late 70s. I mean, there's the Chisholms. That was a great, you know, online series that never quite ended. Uh, Westerns have been around. They've just kind of ebbed and flowed in popularity. But Silverado opened in theaters 40 years ago. It just kind of passed up. I, passed that one up. Wasn't interested at the time, 1985. At that time, I probably didn't know my rich history in watching a lot of the westerns of the 60s and growing up with the, shows like Bonanza and Gunsmoke. Although, the biggies like that I knew were in my past, but there's some others like the Texan that are branded, the rifleman that I remember the rifleman, but like branded, I'd forgotten about. Watch that, although that was a shorter series. Rifleman really didn't run that long either. Um, and the Texan, that was a good one. There's so many others around that time. Uh, but didn't pay much attention to the Silverado. But I do remember some of the buzz that Silverado was gonna, kind of bringing back the Western. I guess it did fairly well. Breakpoint, starring Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves, premiered 34 years ago, 1991. I've seen that on TV. Breakpoint. Hey, Sheldon, it is 4 p.m. already. No, 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 no. Just an extra stream here. It may be closer to four a.m. Right now it's 5:55 here. Every now and then I like to hit that sweet spot that early. Usually on the after the weekend. Everybody's been streaming. 1993 General Mills introduced Reese's peanut butter puff cereal. I've eaten that. I just I the oils that Reese's. I've stopped eating Reese's candy, and I love Reese's candy. I like their cereal. Very peanut buttery. And I don't eat cereal, any kind of cereal with milk. I never have. I don't like my cereal to get soggy, so I eat it like a snack. I eat it dry. Uh, yeah, I just don't like some of the oils that they put in their food. So, why kill yourself? Why take poison? That's just me. Just me. New Quaker granola dips came out in 1984, I guess. I've had some of those. I like them, but for the most part, granola bars are meh. You know, so I don't really think that eating a lot of grains is that healthy for you, to tell you the truth. Seal released "Kiss from a Rose" 31 years ago, 1994. Seal had a little, you know, had quite a voice. Uh, did that for Batman movie. Werewolf premiered 38 years ago. I don't know that I really remember that. It was on Fox, so I probably didn't get it. 1987 Werewolf. Um, might be a good one to go back and, visit and watch for the first time. My Bodyguard opened 45 years ago, 1980. Seems like I kind of remember that movie. On July 11th, 1914, George Herman quote, Babe Ruth, made his Major League Baseball debut with the Boston Red Sox. How about that? And he was a pitcher to start out with. A good pitcher, by the way. It's hard to believe now. That's before he got the beer gut. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix opened in theaters 18 years ago in 2007. One of the latter ones that came out. Club Paradise. I don't think I've seen that one, starring Robin Williams, premiered in theaters 39 years ago in 1986. That would be a good one to go back and watch. If I did see it, it was probably on TV. July 11th, 1979, America's first space station, Skylab, was destroyed as it re entered the Earth's atmosphere over the Indian Ocean. Yeah, that was kind of like a couple of Saturn rockets kind of fused together there. The Russians met the Americans. Alan Shepard was one of those. He was the first American in space. Uh, oh, Heavenly Dog premiered in theaters 45 years ago, 1980. Uh, Chevy Chase movie. I don't. That's an early Chevy Chase movie. I don't think I watched that unless it was on TV. Now my brother would, you know, watch movies, and kind of give me reviews. I would always ask him, "Well, how was the movie and what happened and stuff?" Kind of grill him, you know. Sugar changed in candy too. Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to get away from so much sugar. It's sugar and salt is in everything. Uh, on July 11th, 1960, To Kill a Mockingbird, one of Elsie's favorite movies of all time, with Gregory Peck. Uh, the book was published. Used Cars, starring Kurt Russell and Jack Warden, premiered in theaters 45 years ago in 1980. Don't know that I watched that really. The Newlywed Game. Now, I watched a lot of that with Bob Eubank. Absolutely. Premiered 59 years ago. That because my parents watched it. And, right after I was born, not July 11th, 1966 on ABC. And it was on ABC. We watched a lot of ABC stuff. But the Newlywed Game was actually pretty good at the time, and quite popular and ran for many years. How you like that suit? Bob Eubanks, though. Yeah. 1966. It'd be interesting to know, how long it ran on TV, actually. Def Leppard released their second studio album, High and Dry, 44 years ago in 1981. July 11th, 1804, the Vice President of the United States, Andrew Burr, shot and fatally wounded Treasury Secretary Alexander Hamilton. You don't know who Alexander Hamilton is? You should. He's on your $10 bill, for one thing. In a duel in New Jersey, both men were political rivals, with their feud escalating after Burr's 1804 New York gubernatorial election loss. Contact, I watched that, wasn't really that taken with it. I saw it on TV. I don't know. I might have went to the theater for that. Starring Jodie Foster. It's funny because I saw one of her early when she was just a young girl. She was made her one of her early, I don't want to say debut, but debut for Gunsmoke on Gunsmoke. Matthew McConaughey was in that movie with her. Premiered 28 years ago, 1997. I might have went to see that at the theater. I can't remember Contact, but I remember thinking, yeah, that really wasn't that great a movie. Hey, Gable. Gable Penny shot in the head. Chevy Chase used to be funny, yeah. Yeah, now he's just kind of old and sad, sad to say. I mean, all those SNL people are going to be starting to drop like flies pretty soon. David Bowie released a song Space Odyssey 56 years ago in 1969. Wild. David Bowie, 1969. Some call him a creative genius. Reading Rainbow, hosted by LeVar Burton, premiered nationwide 42 years ago, 1983 on PBS. I did see some of that. Well, it was on PBS a little bit. Didn't pay that much attention to it, but I knew it was going on. Wow. Never knew never knew about this when it was out. The Mask by Blue Bunny with eye-popping bubblegum eyeballs. Yeah. Ice cream. Did you ever get a mask ice cream? I didn't. Didn't even know it was a thing. That's kind of weird. With bubble gum for eyeballs. 1992, R.L. Stein's first Goosebumps book, Welcome to Dead House, was published. Um, R.L. Stein might have been great at these. I don't know. But man, when he wrote that Man Thing series, the artwork was awesome, but the story was crap. I could not believe that R.L. Stein was not a better writer than that. Brave Little Toaster premiered 38 years ago. One of my daughter's favorite movies. Of course, she was born in '86, and Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars. I have both of those on DVD. It came out in 1987, so it was just one of those movies that early movies that she got to see that we got. I like the Brave Little Toaster, and Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars got one sequel. They're both good. So when I saw those, or maybe I hunted them down, I can't remember, on eBay. July 10th, 1985, Coca-Cola announced the return of the original Coke formula, renamed Coca-Cola Classics. I remember when they did that, they kind of changed the formula and they brought back the classic by demand because nobody liked the new stuff. And everybody I talked to said Coca-Cola's never tasted the same afterwards. It did not taste like the original formula. So I don't know. Still some controversy about that. Uh, so that was in April when they did that, and it didn't take them long, July, to announce that they were bringing back Classic. Uh, in April of 1985, Coca-Cola made the controversial decision to discontinue the old Coke flavor for a sweeter, and it was sweeter, new Coke that proved to be deadly unpopular with some consumers. Absolutely. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And I don't think they ever really fixed it, to tell you the truth. A lot of people feel that way. This is one that kind of slopped. Uh, well, flopped. I wasn't even thinking about flopped or slop. Uh, Flew under the radar for me. Fox and the Hound premiered 44 years ago, 1981. Disney movie. Brave Little Toaster was great. Yeah, I thought it was at the time. Still do. Fox and the Hound, probably pretty good. Don't know that I've ever really watched it. Maybe more than once. I mean, maybe once, maybe. It's probably a pretty good movie. Oh, 1976. July 10th, 1976. Afternoon Delight. Afternoon Delight. Yeah, reached number one on the Billboard Hot 100 by Starland Vocal Band. That was a big hit at the time, actually, during the bicentennial year. Lethal Weapon 4. I do like Mel Gibson, but those Lethal Weapon movies I had no interest in and still haven't seen all of them, I don't think. Uh, but Lethal Weapon 4 premiered 27 years ago in 1998. I'm not saying they're bad. Everybody loves them that seems to have seen them, but they just didn't interest me that much. Revenge of the Nerds 2, Nerds in Paradise, premiered in theaters 38 years ago, 1997. World News Tonight with Frank Reynolds. That's an old announcer that you don't hear about anymore, but he was on TV in my early years all the time. Max Robinson and Peter Jennings premiered 47 years ago, 1978, on ABC. Cool World premiered 33 years ago, 1992. A Brad Pitt movie. Great action and animated, kind of like, mixture, kind of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Cool World, though. Definitely different movie. Yeah, that's classic. Look at this TV guide back in the day, Cookie Monster. That's wonderful. I need to collect that for my collection. I have a few TV guides. That came out in 1971. Of course, I was kind of like that first Gen Xers. We started with, we were right there about 3.5 years old when Sesame Street came out. We were primed to watch that, Mister Rogers and Zoom and Electric Company and Kukla, Fran and Ollie. All those things on PBS. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome opened up in theaters 40 years ago, 1985. I went to see that at the theaters. Tina Turner in that one. She sang her song from the movie. Um, we don't need another hero, Thunderdome, something like that. When she came to Memphis, best concert I ever saw. See Sheldon. He says, got to go. Start work later. Hopefully, will work tonight. It did rain here, so everything sort of wet and muddy. Rick James released Super Freak 44 years ago, 1981. I remember that song. That was the song that they were playing. The Super Freak, the Super Freak, she's super freaky. Sang that all in 1981 when I was at summer school on the radio. Loved the song. Probably didn't see the video too much later for that song. Uh, John Carpenter's Escape from New York premiered 44 years ago, 1981. Great movie, dystopian, futuristic movie. Snake Plissken. Escape from New York had Lee Van Cleef in it, I believe. He played the president. And Kurt Russell, of course, playing Snake Plissken. 1972, Diggum Frog was introduced as the mascot of Kellogg's Kellogg's Sugar Smacks, later renamed Honey Smacks. 1986, Diggum was temporarily replaced by Wally the Bear. But, they brought back Diggum because he was more popular. Can't get enough of that sugar crisp. Yeah. I think I got one of those wacky wall crawler inside octopuses at one time. Octopi. Octopus, singular, plural, octopi. How about that? The new James Bond movie, Octopi 2. I don't know. Just spitballing. Wow, man. G.I. Joe Shuttle Complex from 1987. Wow, that must have been a toy. Look at that. Wow. Did you ever see one of those? I never even saw one of those. That must cost a pretty penny there. That's a massive space shuttle. That'd be fun to play with, though. If you're into that type of thing. If you're into that type of thing. Oh, kitchen magnets. I think we had some of these magnets. Are you kidding? Fruit magnets? Hell yeah. Man, tell you what, man creates some wild stuff. Tron premiered 43 years ago, 1982. I went to see that. That was a good movie. Probably saw it more than once. Still like it. I have that and the remake. I thought the remake was decent as well. Donkey Kong was released July 9th, 1981. Nintendo released the arcade game Donkey Kong. Yep. Oh yeah, man. And I had to watch this because I had little girls. Right? Go go Power Rangers. Will Ferrell's Anchorman. The Legend of Ron Burgundy. Never have seen that. Don't care to see it. It's just I don't know. Premiered 21 years ago in 2004. Maybe it's greatest thing since sliced bread. Weekend at Bernie's 2 opened in theaters 32 years ago. I went to see that, 1993. I like Weekend at Bernie's and Weekend at Bernie's 2. I like both of those movies. I almost wish they would have done a third one, to tell you the truth. But I mean, how long can you keep a stiff around and fresh, Uh, but apparently the first movie was so popular they had to do a sequel. And both were equally funny, I thought. It's been a while since I've seen that. 1988, The Flame by Cheap Trick reached number one on the Billboard Hot 100. July 9th, 1893, Dr. Daniel Hale Williams became the first surgeon in the United States to successfully perform surgery on the human heart. The patient went on to live an additional 20 years. Wow. July 9th, 1955, Rock Around the Clock by Bill Haley and his comics became the first, what's considered the first rock and roll single to reach number one on the Billboard uh, chart. You heard that a lot during Happy Days, the show. July 9th, 1962, Andy Warhol's Campbell Soup Cans exhibition opened at the Ferris Gallery in Los Angeles, California. One of Shadowhawk's favorite artists. Yeah, right. Campbell Soup Cans. Another Clint Eastwood movie in the line of fire. I believe he plays a Secret Service man protecting the president. John Malkovich and Rennie Russo premiered in theaters 32 years ago, 1993. Martha and the Vandals released Heat Wave 62 years ago in 1963. Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, the first in the film franchise, opened in theaters 22 years ago in 2003. I believe I went to see that one, the very first one, at the theater. And enjoyed it. I didn't realize that they would become so popular and such a big franchise with Pirates of the Caribbean. I guess I should have known. I mean, with Johnny Depp, leading it, quite popular. Despicable Me, the first in the film franchise, opened in theaters 15 years ago in 2010. Every Breath You Take by the Police reached number one on the Billboard Hot 100. I'll tell you what, with the Police, I know where I first saw them, and that was probably MTV. Otherwise, I would have never even heard of the Police till later, you know. Uh, and it seemed like by the time that I discovered them, they were broke up and doing single albums, which I enjoyed. McDonald's pineapple pie from 1984. I think I tried it maybe once. That's when they were still frying pies. That actually, although I, would rather get the apple pie, and that was a delicious treat that you always wanted to burn your mouth out with, no matter how hot it was. You know, um, it just tasted good. Columbia Record and Tape Club from 1977. Do you ever see ads like this? I did all the time. Any 11 records, tapes, $1. It was probably till around DVDs till I actually started, you know, maybe cassettes. I got into a few 8 tracks here. I've still got some 8 tracks and a 8 track set. Um, didn't get into that too heavily, probably at the tail end of that, but I did nonetheless. Melrose Place premiered 33 years ago, 1992 on Fox. Never watched that. The series finale Police Squad aired 43 years ago in 1982. Never really watched that, I don't think. Fantastic Four, the movie, opened at theaters 20 years ago in 2005. Of course, I went to see that. I thought for some of the early MCU movies, the Hulk and the Fantastic Four never really got a good showing. Camp Laszlo premiered 23 years ago on Cartoon Network. I think I missed that, but it looks like a good time. I usually like what uh, Cartoon Network comes out with. The Go Go's released their debut studio album, Beauty and the Beat, 44 years ago in 1981. I think that's before they really became popular. Girl groups like that and the Bangles, they were probably a lot to MTV. Even the police and older. I mean, MTV really changed a lot of things. A lot of things. Favorite ice. Oh my gosh, you put these in the refrigerator. They really don't taste that good, you know? They really don't. Even as a kid, it's I mean, I loved them as a kid, frozen treat and stuff, but man, it just never, that now they're uh flavor whatever is getting into the drink mix thing, and I got a drink box not too long ago. Cucumber something, you know. And actually, pretty refreshing drink, but um, not a bad flavor, but a kind of an odd one. July 8th, 1947, reports were published that a UFO crash landed in Roswell, New Mexico. And I suppose the rest is history on that, right? Bad News Bears in Breaking Training premiered in theaters 48 years ago, 1977. That was a Star Wars years movie. I liked the Bad News Bears, quite popular at the time. The series finale of Mr. Belvedere premiered 35 years ago. I watched that a little bit in 1990 on ABC. So, series finale for that show. Old Sears catalog ad. I would love to get the Sears catalog so big and look at it, look at the toys section, and kind of here's Micronauts. Micronauts. I know that I know Shadowhawk had some of these toys, but I just never really, got into the Micronaut toys. It's I collected what I really wanted to collect, I guess. Uh, and some of the things, just couldn't afford to get. But Rookie of the Year, I remember that as a pretty good movie. Premiered in theaters 32 years ago, 1993. Burt Coder in the house. Hello, hello. You are awake. Well, I hope so. Gonna get behind the wheel. Be careful. Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest opened in theaters 19 years ago, 2006. I don't know that I've seen any of those. I mean, after a while, unless I'm really invested in them, I just don't, I get lost. Even on the Bond movies, the most recent Bond movies have been, after Casino Royale, and then the the one that they did after that was about halfway good, and then it just got, it's just, and that last one I refused to watch, where they killed off James Bond, apparently. Lethal Weapon 2 premiered in theaters 36 years ago, 1989. Very popular movies at the while. Barry Manilow's released his debut studio albums 52 years ago, 1973. Barry Manilow, very big in the 70s. We look back now and we go, I often wonder why, but listen to the Oldies channel. Debuting the Magnificent Marble Machine premiered 50 years ago, 1975 on NBC. The game show featured a giant pinball machine as its centerpiece. Do you remember that? Magnificent Marble Machine. I do vaguely, vaguely. Ryan's Hope, daytime soap opera, premiered 50 years ago in 1975 on ABC. Vaguely remember Ryan's Hope. David Lee Roth released his debut solo studio album, Eat 'em and Smile, 39 years ago in 1986. That'll make you feel old. Great cover, though. David Lee Roth was definitely a talent. Definitely. Pearl Jam released their song Alive 34 years ago, 1991. Like the simplicity of the cover album. That's pretty neat. Species premiered 30 years ago, 1995. I don't know. I might have saw the first one, maybe even the second one at theaters. Remember them showing Species. It might have been cut up and, you know, edited for TV, but I remember watching Species on TV as well. Female protagonist. Styx released their seventh studio album, The Grand Illusion, 48 years ago in 1977. Great album cover. Grand Illusion, Styx. I love some Styx. Listened to some Styx the other day on the radio, one of their songs. Scary Movie premiered 25 years ago, 2000. You know, sort of a parody movie on stuff. 1984, my graduation year, When Doves Cry by Prince reached #1 on Billboard Hot 100. It was probably 1985, probably 84, I guess, because that was a big song. I it seems like it was 85 though before I even really knew Prince was out there. Like the year after I graduated, you know, and then all the girls that I had graduated were just fawning over Prince. 1958, first International House of Pancakes opened in uh, Toluca Lake, California. First International House of Pancakes. Wow. I like me a good pancake. I like a good waffle too, but I love a great pancake. Got some buttermilk uh, pancake mix last time I went to Aldi. Well, not the last time I went, but recently, maybe next to last time. Their Millville also makes syrup. I get that brand of syrup and was like, oh, cake mix. Okay. And they kind of downsized the box and probably contents, the ounces that you get of the buttermilk pancake mix at Dollar Tree. So I was going to do a comparison and show you a big box, you know, but I've not come across a Dollar Tree that still have the big boxes. I was going to show you and then buy a new one and show you the difference. I don't know why you're buying. I refuse to buy it because I'm for the same price as I was paying for a few more ounces or whatever, a bigger box. Now they have a small box. So this one I got at Aldi is pretty hefty. It's pretty heavy. Um, like me a good pancake. Yeah, and breakfast sounds pretty good. So I guess maybe we need to go get some, huh? I mean, it's almost 6:30 here. Uh, we'll be getting out and running around a little bit today. Hopefully not too much though. It may be steamy, wet, and I don't know if rain is in our uh, forecast, but I haven't heard yet. But this is definitely going to bring out the mosquitoes, and I think it has, you know, around my house. My marigolds are coming up, and that's supposed to repel them. So hopefully it'll really kick in. Uh, you know, a few months and they'll be gone. Won't have to worry about mosquitoes. Anyway, have a good morning. Thanks for dropping in, and I hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you again, hopefully, on the 4 o'clock